Tea production is threatening the survival of Sri Lanka's crucial rainforests. Rainforests cover just 1.2% of the world's surface, but they are home to around half of all life on Earth. They are crucial to biodiversity, with around 75% of identified animal species living exclusively in rainforests, as well as around 2/3 of identified plant species. Rainforests also capture around 2.4 billion metric tons of carbon each year, equivalent to around half of the USA's annual emissions. But right now, around the world, 6,000 acres of tropical forests are being destroyed hourly. At this rate, the world's rainforests will be entirely wiped out in just 87 years. Sri Lanka contains 0.01% of the world's remaining forests. Despite this relatively small coverage, due to the incredible concentration and variety of species, this is enough to make Sri Lanka, around the size of Scotland, one of the most biodiverse countries in the world. 90% of Sri Lanka's native species live in rainforests, but many of them are at risk of extinction. Why? British colonisers in the 1860s drove the introduction of commercial plantations across Sri Lanka. In just 40 years, around 1/3 of Sri Lanka's forests were cleared to make way for tea, coffee and rubber plantations. Colonial economics and a fungal infection that wiped out coffee production made the Sri Lankan economy hugely dependent on tea exports. Since independence in 1948, this has not changed much, and in recent years there's been a huge growth in palm oil plantations, as palm oil has become a central resource in highly industrialised food production. Between 1960 and 2010, Sri Lanka lost close to another 1 million hectares of its forests, around 1/3 of the remaining total. Tea and oil palm plantations might look lush from above, but they are in practice green deserts. The commercial plantation model prevalent in most of the country is rapidly driving out smallholder farmers. This model, operated by large national and multinational tea corporations since colonial times, continues to produce huge profits on the backs of estate workers, mostly from the Tamil minority population, who endure low wages and harsh working conditions. These commercial tea plantations are monocultures, and these uniform rows of single crops are unable to provide the rich and biodiverse microhabitats provided by rainforests. Sri Lanka's forests are also central to providing clean, fresh drinking water. Rapid deforestation is destroying water catchment areas, causing water shortages and threatening life for humans and animal species. Rainforests also absorb excess rainwaters from monsoons. Without them, the area will experience more flooding, leading to landslides and land degradation. The excessive use of agrochemicals, chemical pesticides, herbicides, fertilizers and other chemicals used in industrial agriculture in these plantations endangers plantation workers, farmers and local communities who breathe in these dangerous chemicals or ingest them on crops and in polluted water supplies, leading to chronic diseases. Animal life is similarly impacted by the use of agrochemicals and by the fragmentation of habitats. Unable to safely move across vast commercial plantations, these animals are confined to smaller and smaller feeding and living zones, increasing competition for food and water, leading to dwindling populations. It is also devastating for tea cultivation, endangering the livelihoods of many Sri Lankans. While newly cleared land is immensely fertile, the use of agrochemicals and monocropping soon leads to land degradation, productivity collapses and the yield is reduced. In a vicious cycle, tea planters again destroy rainforests and expand tea plantations to compensate for the loss of land productivity. We must reverse the waves of deforestation, restore the rainforests, and implement agroforestry methods that ensure farming works in harmony with the local environment. Sri Lankan smallholder farmers have been practicing agroforestry for centuries, and today, with peasants' movements like Monla, the movement for national land and agricultural reform, they are spreading the use of multi-cropped cultivations, which support diverse plants and fauna to thrive, as well as providing security in food supply and protection against the fluctuations of commodity prices on global markets that currently have devastating impacts on agricultural communities. Commercial crops like cinnamon, coffee, pepper, cardamom, cloves, betel nut, coconut, wallapata can all be grown alongside tea, as well as food crops such as jackfruit, breadfruit, curry leaves, garcinia, soursop, banana, durian, vegetable and greens. These practices can transform green deserts back into a fertile natural ecosystem, re-enriching barren and polluted soils, providing corridors that relink animal habitats and repairing water catchment areas, providing water security and protection against weather and climate impacts. But corporations and powerful local businesses, which have profited from the low wages and poor working conditions of workers and the reckless extraction of Sri Lanka's environment, are resistant to change. We need to stand in solidarity with Sri Lanka's land and peasant movements in their fight for environmental justice and food sovereignty. Join the food sovereignty movement.